Welcome, everyone. Christian Marauder here. The talk of the town is the presidential address this past week. And I got to tell you, folks, I never thought I would ever see the day that I'd ever hear anything like this at all, unfolding just as the Bible predicted in Daniel's day, a roadmap to tyranny, folks. That's what we're seeing, a roadmap to tyranny that was laid out by the prophet Daniel, folks. So with that, folks, before we begin, I'm just going to go ahead and make a few announcements, and we're going to jump into today's message. It's sort of a jump off from last week. I was trying to do another video, and I'm still working on it. Haven't got a chance to get it done yet because of uh, uh, time restraints, all kinds of things that came up. So just a little delayed. So I'll get that video out on the eating bug video, as well as what to do about it and why we're seeing what we're seeing today, especially with all that. But when this came up, that kind of, spurred me on to jump off where I left off last week. And where I left off last week, I talked about the prophet Daniel a little bit, but I redid the live stream and added the videos to it. And in adding not the videos, but the pictures to more pictures to what I was talking about for more impact, I came up with a graphic about Daniel's um, statue. And that's what we're going to talk about today in Daniel chapter 2. Because if you look at, for example, Daniel chapter 2, and you look at the Revelations chapter 2 and 3, there's a prophetic template. Even in the words of Jesus, if you follow his verse by verse account in Matthew 24 or Luke 17 or Luke 21, you'll see a prophetic outline, so to speak, of what's going to happen. And all these come together at the main point. A lot of people miss this. So that's what we're going to be discussing a little bit in a minute here. But before that, I just want to get a few announcements in. So anyway, glad you all are coming in and people are going to be joining in. And I just want to take a few minutes to talk about a few things. Just pray that my second book will come out. And a publisher will approve it, and we can go from there. And I'm really praying that I can get this book out as soon as possible, because in it contains a lot of stuff. It's basically what the Lord has given you. We are to give out to others and pass on the information so that other people can run with the vision, so to speak. And my book is about heaven. And lately, there is a lot of controversy about people with after-death experiences and people who have seen heaven. There's a lot of phonies and a lot of fakes. And so my book addresses a little bit of that. But it doesn't discount that these things actually do happen still. And because God's sovereign and he can do what he so wills with that. And so with that, that's what my book is going to deal with. Also some heavy topics and subject that'll answer a lot of questions that a lot of Christians have. Because I dealt extensively in the realm of apologetics. I was part of in the early 2000 period. I was working an apologetics website, Evidence for God from Science. And that was a popular site, but now I think I had to drop out of there because it's getting too much to me, and as other things were happening, I had to take care of. And we had an incident there with an atheist that unfortunately I told the moderators we should keep on there, but later he ruined the site, flipped some of the moderators against me. So instead of just creating a controversy and being the tall guy, I turned the other cheek and just simply resigned. And I appreciate the Evidence for God for Science website. It is a great website. I don't know if it's still there, but I still stick up for it. They have some great information there, and I don't know if they modernized their site or not. So Richard Dean head the site. I am all, just kudos to him. Nothing against any of the folks there. It was time for me to go. Okay. So So I deal extensively with apologetics and debating all kinds of people. And a lot of this has helped me express things that I've learned over the years on Christianity and stuff, and also how important it is, especially in the last days, to stick with the Bible. There's a whole crop of new people coming up, and they're going to get you away from the Bible into new revelations. There are new translations out there you need to be aware of, and I'll probably address this at a later date. And I'll go over these and show you how Alice Bailey they are, how New Age they are, how many New Age phrases that most people will miss that are in these newer translations. And all this Alice Bailey actually channeled would happen. And someone asked me, so I want to address this one other point that someone asked me. How much do you know so much about Alice Bailey? I didn't. Back in the day when I was an atheist running around, I got into the mind science stuff. I threw out the ideology of God or spirits or anything like that. I just like the science of the mind, so to speak, the how to project your thought into a force of thought, which has been later translated as the force of faith. It's the same principle. It's a law of attraction, whatever. And so, you know, I never got into it. I heard of Alice Bailey, heard of Blavatsky. Someone handed me some Blavatsky stuff when I was younger. I couldn't understand. I just threw it away. I said, this lady's nuts," which she is. She reminds me of a schizophrenic, and schizophrenic writing. No other way to say it. So, and then I never bothered reading Alice Bailey, even though I knew who it was. So later in my Christian endeavor, and I'm doing research on the old God stuff and other different things back maybe 10 years ago or more than that, probably. You see, this is probably 12 years or whatever of investigating this stuff. I the Lord really spoke to me. He says, you need to expose the works of darkness. And so I really said, no, I'm not going to read this stuff. And then I read Gary Wayne's book, Genesis 6 Conspiracy, and some other books that are out there, and came across a guy named Tom Horn and some other folks over at Skywatch TV. Started listening to them, and some other folks over the years. I started listening to Dan Quayle and L.A. Marzulli and a few others, and plus Chuck Missler. Chuck Missler, when I was early Christian back in the late 80s and through the 1990s on up there until he passed, I I really appreciated Chuck Missler. He really inspired me. And they all did research on the occult. And I figured if they can do it without losing their mind or whatever, I guess I could, Lord. So I downloaded PDFs from Alice Bailey, the Lucas Trust, but they're out there on public domain. They passed the 70-year test, so they're all on public domain now. And you can find the PDFs. And so I downloaded them. I tried to read them. I go, I can't read this trash. Basically, it's trash. So it just came to me, just look up keywords. So I typed in whatever it was. I was studying government. And boy, did I get an earful. And then I found out about seed groups. I found out about how Alice Bailey channeled to take over the media, arts, entertainment, radio, TV, education system, psychology and psychiatry, take over that, take over all the things that can influence people in the world in order for their Messiah to come. And how to do that was to make sure the church is portrayed as legalistic and outdated, okay? And don't really need it. Then you go into a signs and wonders phase, and then you step into dominionism and bring it all into a new world order. Her words, not mine. So I looked up all these key words and I was shocked. It laid out the whole plan. So I went through probably 80% of her books and did that. Type in on a PDF, word search, find out the keywords, and I got more than I bargained for. So that's how I did this. And this led to other discoveries, which I'll talk about today as well. So with that, I just wanted to answer that. So You want to jump right in? We're at the 11-minute mark. I will put this at the. I will at the. I'll cut this in on here because this is a live stream. I'm going to redo this, re-edit this part out. So I'm going to put on the live stream. I'm starting at in 12 minutes to get into the message. So if you want to get into the message, it'll be 12 minutes. So let's just go ahead and get ready to go here, folks. I'm going to tell you what. Before we do, I just want to share this. I am under copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act. This is what I'm claiming to do. This is for educational purposes as well as new purposes. So this is for fair use. Anything I use is under the protection by this. So that is what this is about. I'm educating folks. So we're going to talk about the prophetic roadmap to tyranny. Man, I tell you, I never thought I'd see the day when I see this road map to tyranny being portrayed right before our very eyes. And our government officials are even broadcasting this road map to tyranny. Well, what is it? What does it look like? Why do I talk about a road map to tyranny? Well, a road map to tyranny is seen in Daniel chapter 2. So I grab my Bible. In Daniel chapter 2, it simply talks about Nebuchadnezzar had a dream about a statue. And I'm not going to talk all the ramifications about the statue. I'm going to look at the bullet point definitions, and we're going to, I want to show you the roadmap, okay? Roadmap to tyranny. So Daniel has a statue. He has a golden head, has a silver chest, bronze thighs, iron legs and feet mixed with iron and clay. And this lays out what to look for in the last days coming together, because Jesus, the Lord spoke through here. I believe the Lord Jesus was speaking through here, through the power of the Holy Spirit, speaking in this to Daniel, that when you see this coalesce and begin to walk, you know this is the end. So how do you know? When all these ideas, everything that these things symbolize, come together, taking shape really fast, like a 1-2 punch. Over the centuries, they had centuries and centuries and centuries, thousands of years, almost 3,000 years to perfect these ideas. Now you'll see them come along. You'll see templates, you'll see words, you'll see phrases, and you just see if these things come about. So I'm going to bring up a picture of Daniel's statue here. So, this is Daniel's statue. As you can see, it's the golden dream. This involves the steps taken for world domination and totalitarianism, folks. That's what that is. That's the golden-headed dream, is world domination by an elite class of individuals who rule with an iron fist over people. It is the idea that they can control the world and put everything together because they own everything, okay? Back in Nebuchadnezzar's day, back in Nimrod's day, I go back to Genesis 6, like I said last week. This is the mindset of the elite. So the mindset of the elite is that they're a rich oligarchy who owned everything, businesses, the war industry complex, all these things. And so they needed a leader to hold it together. And so the idea is that they own all the money, and anybody who gets a job through a business gets a loan from these individuals so they can meet a paycheck. So these people view that they own you. They own everything because they own all the income. They own the industrial base. They own the production base. So they own you. And if everyone would listen to them, the world would be a much better place. That is the golden-headed dream. Okay, let's look at this a little bit more. So these are stages seen in the history that outline the last day's step into tyranny. The golden stage is the idea projected of world domination and control of everyone, everything for the greater good. Everybody's going to do this for the greater good. It's always for the greater good. Like I stated before, Alice Bailey channeled the idea of the greater good, of a collective utopia of a greater good. H.P. Blavatsky basically brought out the way to do this is to justify the profane. And so what is this golden-headed dream here? Well, this golden-headed stage here is this totalitarian mindset where they control everyone, everything for the greater good. Folks, it is about world domination and totalitarianism. Total control and dominance of all, because they know best how to rule the world and govern your life better than you do. Everyone would listen to them. This is pure psychopathic thinking. This is pure extreme narcissistic behavior. Well, why do I say that? I worked in the criminal justice field. I worked in a jail, in the programs unit. I also worked through the court systems, managing high-profile individuals known as sex offenders on treatment team. I was part of a case manager for and under the Colorado State Sex Offender Management Board. So I know what I'm talking about psychopaths and narcissists. I dealt with them extensively. So what I'm seeing, this weird behavior lately, this really strange behavior by a president who sits behind a real eerie thing with his arms upraised, like remind me of somebody else who's claiming that the opposition are fascists. But if you look at this other person with a little devil sign in his fingers and with these little flags in the background and guys in uniform, and there you got guys in uniform back there behind flags as well, warning bells go off. And so H.P. Blavatsky talked extensively of use of androgyny, an idea of blending both sexes together to make an androgynous being, a perfect human being, to be like God. And so don't think of fascism in a straw man argument where it only involves a guy with a mustache raising his hand like that. The real poster boy of fascism is Benito Mussolini and General Bellissimo. What's the guy in Spain now? Totally, Franco. That is fascism. They will accept any type of lifestyle in their imaginable. Communism is the counterpart of fascism. Communism will take the profane and the debased and exalt them in order to and put them into the ranks in order to go after the opposition. Fascism, will use anything to do so. So don't get hoodwinked by words when somebody's saying, fascists are all about, the right-wing extremists are all about, imprisoning gays and want nationalism and taking over and domination of everybody. We got to stop it. That is a straw man argument. That's a moral equivalency argument in order to paint an entire group of people who have a live and let live attitude because they are called MAGNA, make America great again. Let's have parents in charge of school boards and not the government. According to the ruling elites, no, the school must dictate to the parents that they have no control of their children. This is Alice Baileyism. Take over the education system. She wrote a book on the education system and how to implement this through seed groups, disseminate ideas of world domination, totalitarianism, control of everything for the greater good. That is exactly what she was channeling, folks. And so it was all about a collective mindset. So people who love their country, who believe America should be great and not to be, I keep showing this clip, where you own nothing, you're going to be happy about it, and the U.S. won't be the world's leading superpower again, and you have to debase yourself and grovel in the dust and become a third world country, live under the dictates of narcissists and psychopaths who will crush the life out of you. in a totalitarian state. And so that is what we're seeing. We're seeing this push toward that mindset, folks, that was laid out by these folks in the occult world. I mean, this is demonic. This is satanic. There's no other word for it. And are these people practicing Satanists? I don't think so. They could be, but John Podesta and his spirit cooking thing is now part of the Biden administration. He was just hired in some job there. Makes you think, And Hillary Clinton, is out of Bill Clinton's own mouth, is a practicing Wiccan. So you can put two and two together as much as you want to. So this totalitarian idea is from the Satan himself. Control everything, reshape the world, remake the world in his own image of dictatorial, crush the life out of people's. They don't have any liberty. They have no freedom, no free speech allowed. I mean, make America great again, people. Believe in free speech. We have a live and let live attitude. All we want to see is law and order. We don't like open borders. Heaven has an immigration policy. It doesn't have open borders. Hell has an open border policy. Heaven does not. We have an idea that we need, live and let live. We respect other people's ideas. We don't force people. Everyone talks about Donald Trump forcing people. He's taken over the government. Really? Has he done anything like Joe Biden has? Absolutely not. So these, excuse me, these straw man arguments have to go. That's what I mean. These are straw man arguments to paint the opposition party as vermin in order to exterminate them. No other way to say it. Every totalitarian does it. Nebuchadnezzar did it. And he had tests and stuff like that. He built another statue, and three guys didn't want to bow the knee to it, so he threw them in a fiery furnace. So you have the totalitarian setting up how to expose the enemy. Let's get rid of the opposition because we can't have any independent thought of our own. Everybody must believe as they do. If not, you are cascaded as the enemy. That is what we're seeing. We're seeing it coalesce right now. We're seeing it out in the open. It was out in the open all throughout history, but now in the end times, you're going to see it coalesce with the rest of Daniel's statue. So let's take a look at that. Okay, I just put up on the screen here. So we have the golden dream taken for world domination and totalitarianism. The next, what you'll see in this prophetic roadmap to tyranny is a silver world of domination. It's university. It's unity through diversity achieved by selling the idea of helping the outcasts. Cyrus was anointed of God to set the Jewish people go. There are some good things in this type of thinking about setting the outcasts free, helping the downtrodden, and so forth, etc. But the totalitarians are going to use this in an entirely different way, folks. In an entirely different way. What they're going to do is, I'm going to bring this up here, is this. Silver Stage gains control by portrayal of helping the outcast and downtrodden by first using legitimate grievances, then use illegitimate accusations to solidify one's power and control. So that's the Silver Stage. It's unity through diversity, the idea of helping the outcast. And before everyone thinks that how great Persia was, they liked to skin alive their opposition. I got a thing on academia the other day, and so I get subscribed to it. And so they send me stuff and scholars' reports of how they skinned alive people in ancient Persia for disagreeing with them. That was the Persian Empire. But amidst that, they use let's defend the poor and the needy and the outcasts who have legitimate grievances in order to basically bamboozle the world's population or of the empire to think they're doing a good thing. So they define what is right and wrong there. It's used for they use legitimate grievances, and they keep pressing these grievances. Like in the United States, we are not a racist nation at all. As a kid growing up in the 1960s and teenager in the 70s, and I can guarantee you, you have no idea what a racist nation looks like. We don't live like that anymore. We're not that type of person anymore. And if I say there's racist and there's still white supremacists out there, yeah, last count of a census, there were at least 2,000 to 4,000 in the entire nation of 310 million people. The only true racists exist in critical race theory, Marxist ideology, and progressive left, who want to censor you for the color of your skins, hire you on the basis of the color of your skin, reverse discrimination in order to right the wrongs of humanity of the past. That is the ideology of the silver stage. Gain control by helping the outcasts and downtrodden by using legitimate grievances, then use illegitimate accusations to solidify your power and control. That is what will happen in the last stage. You'll see this totalitarian push being sold, and all of a sudden you see these accusations and using past grievances to bash down the system to gain control over the masses. The silver arms, for example, of Daniel's statue here, right here, of Daniel's statue here, one represents the Medes and the Persians. The Persians are the strong right hand. They use the left hand, the weaker hand, to work through. So this is the idea. We will solidify, we'll take over everything, we'll put people in a box, and we will solidify them, and we will use the lower ranks to make sure everyone complies with their ideas. And if you don't, the big right hand will come out and flay you alive, okay? If you disagree with their setting a right grievances and how they want to set free the outcasts. And Cyrus was, I'll go back to Cyrus. Cyrus was anointed. He brought down the system. He had some good things, but those after him and those there are some bad things there. You can go look at history on that. So let's look at the next one. You'll see this stage happening. The bronze on world domination. It influences and molds all cultural influencers to shape the world into a one unified, one world groupthink. This is the Grecian Empire. That is what the Grecian Empire of Alexander did, and what their idea was to Hellenize the entire world, make everybody think Greek, eat Greek, live Greek, speak Greek, share one common culture, one ideology, one voice. That is that stage of tyranny, okay? So I'll go back to this slide. The Bronze Stage shaped the world into one unified groupthink through a ruling oligarchy. This is seen in Plato's Republic, for example. If you ever, I like I said before, I think it was 5th and 6th grade, we were studying Plato's Republic. What are they studying in 5th and 6th grade? Gender bending. Man, wow, we have gone a long way from when I was educated and what they're going through now. But Plato's Republic, you have a ruling oligarchy solidified by an emperor or a leader who will operate through the weak left hand. Go back to this. Through the weak left hand, okay, in order to control everything. And so what you have is they have a totalitarian idea. They want to influence all the population to think the same so they don't rebel. That's the Bronze Stage. They want to educate everybody. I don't have time to talk about Apollo and all the different Greek gods who were, and Hermes and all that in here. But this is what it's talking about. In order to bring, they'll use and sell it through the silver idea of unity through diversity, and they will work through a lower rank Mede type of organization in order to carry it out, which would be the ruling oligarchy. So you have a ruling oligarchy who is going to control all the cultural influences of the world in order for their world domination to take place. The ancient pagan religions of that time period in that area, in fact, I think all throughout the world, wanted to do this. They wanted to release somebody out of the abyss who would come back and rule the world. Cannot do it until they take over everything. Nebuchadnezzar thought he was God to do that. He thought he was the world leader, or he would be his kids. It wasn't. Pharaoh did the same thing. One pharaoh after another. They thought their firstborn would be the world dominant leader that would be inhabited by this being who would rule the world through an enlightened oligarchy who controls everything, make sure you're happy about it. And so that was the ideology, and this all sold on doing the greatest good and for peace and security, peace and safety reasons. And now you understand why and Pharaoh's son died, and God was saying he's judging the gods of Egypt, the ancient fallen watchers. I won't get into all that right now, but I'm just saying that is that phase. So when you have that phase and it's all working there, it's all shaping the world into a one unified groupthink through a ruling oligarchy. That's the left hand, okay? And you have a right hand in the silver stage helping it out, this golden idea of world domination. And then that's what you got. So before, all this took centuries to develop. But in the last stage, you'll see everything coming together at once, like this one unified punch on a worldwide scale, not just one country. In World War II, you had the Axis. You had Italy, you had Germany, and you had Japan, who wanted world domination. You always have countries like China who wants world domination. And right now, in today's modern, you have Iran as well. And so you have that, but this is a worldwide scale. It looks a lot different. It's unity through diversity. It's taking over all the cultural mountains of influence, and it involves a totalitarian groupthink. It's using a ruling oligarchy to set the stage for one world leader to emerge, just as Alice Bailey channeled. And the fourth stage of Daniel's statue was the iron legs, or two iron legs. I'm not going to talk about the two iron legs or anything like that. People debate this all over the place. And they symbolize all different types of things. So iron is the empire phase, where you change seasons and laws to achieve control over all areas of life of the world's population by a ruling oligarchy cemented by an emperor. So you'll see, and actually what Daniel talked about later in the scriptures was about that, selling people selling the idea we need to change seasons and laws, okay? Daniel talked about that. I think Daniel chapter 7, I think. I just don't remember. I don't have that written down. But the Antichrist is going to change seasons, times, and laws. Seasons, okay? Climate change. So you're going to see a push toward Gaia, a push toward the ancient pagan religions to supersede this natural order. You'll see that. We saw it in the Vatican not too long ago when Pope Francis brought all these indigenous people who worship Gaia in there. Brought all these statues there. We're seeing this ideology of one world religion of nature worship, and they're going to use the planet seasons to take over, and they're going to change laws. Why are they going to do that? So let's look at these stages again. The Iron Stage changes laws to achieve world domination, used to demonize and assassinate opponents' character, ways, and very life, to establish a dictatorship beholden to a leader, idea enforced by an elite oligarchy. If I was going to sum up the Roman Empire, that's what the Roman Empire did. They changed laws to achieve world domination amongst each other, used to demonize and assassinate their opponents' character, ways, and very life, to establish a dictatorship beholden to a leader, idea enforced by a ruling oligarchy known as the Senate back then. Like I said, I'm summing it up for you and make it real simple. I don't want to talk like a professor at a lectern and bore you in every single detail how this could be that. No. I'm not going to use that type of approach here. I'm just going to show you the bullet point. I want you to see how this is working. So a historical summary of what I call the Roman Empire was about. And if you oppose this, it was anathema. These people were, let's look at this for a second. These people were all about that. They changed the laws, times, and seasons for world domination. And so you'll see a stage that'll attempt to use seasons. You'll see them to change laws in order to break laws, to get away with laws. They could break into somebody's house, take out documents and say they're empty folders and lay them on the floor, take a picture, release them to the news media. It sounds like a setup to you. This is how Rome operated, folks. This is how empires silence the opposition. Anybody who wants it, they set them up. We're watching it right now in the United States. We're seeing on a worldwide scale. We're seeing the same type of garbage in Canada, in Australia, New Zealand, in the West, in Europe. We're seeing it all over the place. In other words, they'll stop at nothing to make sure their iron will be done. So how are they selling this? How do they sell and get away with it? Well, I want to go to this little book. Again, I want to show you something. This is the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, and you can see the links on screen there. I'll put them in the description when I get done with the video for you, so you can look at it. And it just tells you about how it was derived. Nobody knows if this is a real document or not. Some people say it was it's been used as a template for many James Bond movies, as well as many spy thrillers and so forth about a ruling elite who wants to take over the world. But this comes out to be a very accurate document, no matter if it's a fiction or not. It is eerie. And so they talk about welcomes the 25th publication of the Third World War, called the Quiet War, being conducted using subjective biological warfare, fought with silent weapons. Okay, this thing came out in 1979, was found in 1980 on top of a copier, and it says here, it is patently possible. No, it is patently Wait, let me start again. It is patently impossible to discuss social engineering or the automation of society and the engineering of social automation systems, silent weapons, on a national or worldwide scale without implying an extensive objective of social control and destruction of human life, slavery, and genocide. This manual is in itself an analog declaration of intent. Such a writing must be secured from public scrutiny. Otherwise, it might be recognized as a technically formal declaration of domestic war. Furthermore, whenever any person or group of persons in position of great power and without full knowledge and consent of the public uses such knowledge and methodology for economic conquest, it must be understood that the state of domestic warfare exists between the said person or groups of persons and the public. The solution of today's problems require an approach which is ruthlessly candid, with no agonizing over religious, moral, or cultural values. I'll stop right there, folks. That's very iron-fisted. That is very Roman-like, okay? Let's go back to the article. Requires an approach that's ruthlessly candid, no agonizing over religious, moral, or cultural values. You have qualified for this project because your ability to look at human society with cold objectivity. Yet analyze and discuss your observations and conclusions with others of similar intellectual capacity without the loss of discretion or humility. Such virtues are exercised in your own best interest. Do not deviate from them. So, how does this relate to the iron stage every way. The iron stage to achieve world domination, dehumanize, assassinate your opponents. You want to attain total, I'll go through this again. You want to do that, you're going to use the bronze. You're going to take over the bronze domination, where you are all about moldering cultural influencers to shape the world into a group think. You're going to use the silver. You're going to use unity through diversity achieved by selling the idea of helping the outcast to carry it out in order to ruthlessly candidate to dominate everything, because they view the view is that you are the elite and you must do this because you own everything. You own all the money. You know how the economic engines work. You know what to do. You own everything because your idea of how to run the world is best. You have a right. You make the loans that pay the paychecks to the people, so you own them. That's a mindset. So let's look at this. The next page of this, silent weapons. In 1954, is well recognized by those in position of authority that it was only a matter of time, only a few decades before the general public would be able to grasp and upset the cradle of power for the very elements of a new silent weapon technology were as accessible for public utopia as they were for providing private utopia. Issue of primary concern, that of dominance, revolved around the subject of the energy sciences. Okay? And so what is all this about? It is about the sovereignty, protecting the sovereignty of the elite. That is what this is about. That's what this whole thing is about, is to protect the sovereignty and rule of the elite. This is a document goes ahead and shows that. So how did ancient Rome operate, and why is this important? How does this correlate? So let's look at how it correlates, because ancient Rome was a pluralistic society. As long as they worshiped the emperor as God and worshiped the state, everything was okay. You can worship whatever you want, but threaten that order with imposing reason and moral relevance, where you have some type of moral standard which to rule by, to tell what is right and wrong. Any that's outside the Rome or the state, that was forbidden. That was all solidified by emperor worship, okay? Worship of the state, think of it that way. And so that was the idea. So it was a pluralistic society. It was a very decadent society where basically almost anything goes. Okay, and so how do totalitarians reach this state here where they change time, seasons, and laws to achieve control over all areas of life of the world's population by a ruling oligarchy supported by an emperor? How do they achieve that? They achieve it by these steps laid out in this book. This is how Rome did it. But in the modern terms, a very decadent society. You weaken society in order to change laws by distracting them so they're not paying attention to what is going on. So these are the tables of strategy on page 35 of the pamphlet and 36. And I'll show you 37 and 38 in a minute. You keep the public in order to take world control, you keep the public ignorant. Ancient Rome did that with its population. They gave them bread and circuses. To get this, less public organization. In other words, you will do whatever it takes to silence dissent. You will take over the media. You will take over communication between individuals in order to achieve this. You want them to think in a Hellenistic way of a one world group think. And you want to sell the idea of unity and diversity of downtrodden masses. But they're going to take legitimate downtrodden masses, then shift it to some very perverse lifestyles, exactly what ancient Rome did. Maintain access to control point for feedback. In other words, required reaction to outputs, prices, sales. You can even say social media. Create preoccupation. People are preoccupied. They are too busy trying to survive, whatever. That means they lower defense. And you must attack the family unit. Okay? And you got to control the education of the young to get there. So they want to attack the family unit. The state only has the right to rule your family. You don't. You're a parent. You don't have a right to object to gender bending practices sold to your kindergartner. Okay, because if you resist, you are opposing liberty and freedom. Because these people, these little kids, they need to express themselves and become who they really are. Families repress their development, so they got to get rid of the family. The devil's been at war with the family since day one. Okay, he had Adam and Eve fall, pit them against each other, and then brother against brother. First war, Cain slew Abel. Okay. So destroy the family unit. How? Control the feedback, keep the public ignorant. So if you look in the biblical sense, maintain access to control point for feedback. For example, Cain was accusing his brother of being better than him or whatever. So he was in the process of controlling that feedback, and he's trying to keep God ignorant. How he addressed his murder of his brother Abel, and God called him on the carpet. And so it did not work, but the family was attacked. So you'll see in a Romans type of world, the family be disintegrating through Arvis, vice, all manner of distractions, and a fragmented family. You'll see a lot of abuse, drug addiction, so forth, etc., accelerated in order to do that. We have open borders now. A lot of countries have open borders. Drugs and alcohol, not alcohol, but drugs and different substances are coming into our country. No one's paying attention. Why? It's by design. I'm just going to go through these real quickly. Give less cash and more credit and doles. Attack privacy of the church, social conformity, minimize tax protests. So, and to get there, you can more self-indulgence and more data. In other words, you give less cash and more credit and doles. That just means you get rid of all the hard cash and you go credit, and you do it by making a population very narcissistic and self-indulgent and self-loving. Okay. And that's what Rome did with its population as well. Okay, then we go down here to the next page. Tighten control of variables. Establish boundary conditions. Proper timing. Maximize control. Collapse of currency. Okay, so these are the silent weapons here. So you want to stabilize the consent. The simplicity of coefficients. What does all that mean? That simply means control the opposition. Tighten control of variables. Simpler computer input data and greater predictability. That's just, I'm telling you, folks, what does that mean? They were planning to build a computer system in order to track and monitor everybody in the world, in order to control what they consume, see what they're doing, so they can control you. This has been planned for some time. Let's see. Look at maximize control. You want to minimize resistance to that control. How? By attack the family. You make the public the inability to organize effectively. You take away the social media. You silence them. I watch YouTube sometimes because they have some shows I like to watch and stuff. Only political advertisements I have seen so far is predominantly Democrats. Where's the Republicans? Don't they pay for ads too? How come it's only Democrats being pushed and their ideology? In Colorado, they're really touting the Inflation Reduction Act as the greatest thing since a napkin. Just wait till the winter time. Just wait in a few more weeks. Just wait and see how great the bill really is. So how come it's only one view being pushed? Well, it's a silent weapon. Less public access or organization. and you're going to control the reaction. You're going to lower defense. You're going to control the education of the young. All these variables are in place. Basically, that's how Rome did it. And they did it through this one means here I'm going to bring up on the next page here on page 36. The division is the primary strategy. Experience has prevent that the simplest method of securing silent weapons and gaining control of the public is to keep the public undisciplined, ignorant of the basic system principles on the one hand, while keeping them confused, disorganized, and distracted with matters of no real importance on the other hand. This is achieved by 1. Disengaging their minds, sabotaging their mental activities, providing a low-quality form of public education in mathematics, logic, systems, design, and economics, discouraging technical creativity. Engaging their emotions by increasing their self-indulgence and their indulgence in emotional and physical activities by unrelenting emotional affrontations and attacks, mental and emotional rape by way of constant barrage of sex, violence, and wars in the media, especially in TV and the newspapers. Another bullet point, giving them what they desire in excess, junk food for thought, depriving them of what they really need. 2, rewriting of history and law and subjecting the public to deviant creation, thus being able to shift their thinking from personal needs to highly fabricated outside priorities. Okay? Rewriting of history, folks. That is the first thing. So, rewrite history. 1619 project and other projects that are being, a lot of states are voting against now, are rewriting history. Cascading whole groups of people as the enemy, who are not the enemy, who found the country, who did these things. And they use moral equivalency arguments and straw man arguments to do it. And since they dumb down people so they have no ability to critically think, but only react to emotional appeals and bullet points and talking points, they can be very successful. So they want to rewrite history. The Romans were good at rewriting history. So were the Greeks. So were the Persians. So was Nebuchadnezzar. That's proven by academia. That is proven by archaeology with their steles and their cylinders they have of their conquest. They never talk about their deviant behavior or what was actually going on. No, their leaders are put in a light as super beings. Okay? So we have something like that today with this guy who supposedly president behind a red backdrop with Marines in the back with flags, with his arms raised, telling half the country is the enemy in vermin who need to be exterminated. Amazing, isn't it? So let's go back. And rewriting history and law. Remember, I talked about the Antichrist system, talking about changing laws. Roman changed laws in order to break laws to get away with that. They will use laws and play a balancing act. We have a law here. You can't take classified information. So let's go in there in the pretext, take out any classified documents, which he has a right to have, and hide them and say that he hid them and put these folders in there for the news media to look at. Now, if you don't know a setup or smell a rat, I don't know what I have a bridge going across the Pacific that I'll sell you for $10.95. So just this stuff is they want to get rid of all critical thinking. So they Hellenize the world. Okay? They really do. They want to influence and shape the world into one unified groupthink. They're going to do it by unity, through diversity, by selling the idea of helping the outcast, which brings me to the next point here. Subjecting the public to deviant creation. Okay? So this means raising up deviant class, deviant behavior as a new norm. I worked with sex offenders. I know what I'm talking about. I'm seeing entire things, education system grooming. Even churches doing it now. It really upsets me. So they want to exalt a deviant lifestyle and behavior. And if you don't accept this androgynous way, you are the enemy. You are a fascist, and fascists need to be destroyed. However, the real fascists sit behind a eerie red satanic background with 2 Marine guards with flags, similar, reminiscent to what some other fascists did, telling that people who hate fascists are fascists themselves because they don't accept deviant lifestyle. See, the silver stage, the silver arm stage, is what? Gain control by portrayal of helping the outcast and downtrodden by first using legitimate grievances, then use illegitimate accusations to solidify one's power and control. It's there in the document. Rewriting history and law, subjecting the public to deviant creation, thus being able to shift their thinking from personal needs to highly fabricated outside priorities. Climate change. Celebrating deviancy. Celebrating the demise of your republic and your country. Fundamentally transforming it into a dystopia. Thus being able to shift their thinking from personal needs to highly fabricated outside priorities. What else can I say? These preclude their interest in and discovery of the silent weapons of social automation and technology. Let's go to this next page. The general rule is there is a profit in confusion. The more confusion, the more profit. Therefore, the best approach is to create problems, then offer solutions. Problem, action, solutions. Okay, let's go back and look at that again. The general rule is to create confusion. This is satanic. The Umbria symbol, the snake eating its tail, order out of chaos, is written all throughout this book. Kind of tells you the mindset, whoever derived this, what they were thinking. This is satanic. This goes back, folks, to this golden dream of world domination that Satan has. He is going to achieve it. How? By unity through diversity, achieved by selling the outcast, of helping the outcast, the idea of helping the outcast and the perverted and the profane. And you have a strong right hand using a left hand to do it. Think of that, left hand, progressive, so forth. Okay. This is going to be brought about in a step you'll see happening real fast, solidifying in a few short years, the bronze stage, molding all cultural influencers to shape the world in one unified group link. Instead of Hellenization, it will be New World Order groupthink, or the Liberal World Order groupthink. Just think of the World Economic Forum groupthink. This is achieved by the iron phase, change time, seasons, and laws to achieve control over all areas of life of the world's population by ruling our oligarchy, cemented by an emperor who is to come. That's what it is, folks. That's what you're looking at right now. Let's look at this document again. Diversion summary is: media, keep the adult public attention diverted away from real social issues and captivated by matters of no real importance. Okay? That's interesting. The mainstream news is doing just that. We're being threatened by a war over in Taiwan, in Israel and Iran. There could be a war, rumors of war, wars and rumors of war that Jesus spoke about. Okay? We are being distracted. There were massive floods all over the world, and I'm just finding out about something because there's been a news blackout on real news. So I have to go to alternative sources and have to go to foreign news to find out what the heck is going on in my own country. It's a sad state of affairs. I turn on the local news, I hear little cute animal stories and how we must celebrate perversity and devote an entire month to it, and poo-poo the American flag and the 4th of July. Yawn, don't pay attention to that. That represents freedom. high ideas and live and let live society, and respecting one another's points of view. Even if you disagree, you can still get along. No, not that at all. You are the enemy if you think that way. So you distract them with real matters of no importance, so you don't see the 1-2 punch they're getting ready to hit you with. Schools. Second one, schools keep the very young public ignorant of real mathematics, real economics, real law, and real history. Entertainment, keep public entertained below the 6th grade level. At one time, and back in the 90s, it was, we only have an 8th grade education reading level in the United States. And we have a below 6th grade level on par average reading level right now. So newspapers used to write intelligently, at least at the 8th grade level, somewhat. Now they're dumbing them down to bullet points, shouting matches, disinformation stuff, and like a kid in a sandbox. It's my way or the highway. You're going to do it our way. You can't play in my sandbox. We're going to get you for disinformation. You can't come in here. This is our sandbox. And so you have that. You have that happening. I'm telling you, you do. And you keep the young people ignorant of mathematics, law, real history. Oh, no. You got to keep them ignorant of law. You don't want law and order and hold people accountable. You want to be like us, you'll get away with anything you want. But if you don't, we will, throw pictures of documents on the ground to make sure you are no longer a threat. And then work, keep public busy with no time to think, back on the farm with the other animals. That's their idea of you. They're ruling a hierarchy of you as an animal, something dirty, filthy. You don't have real life. And so they want to keep you busy with work. So, let's destroy the home by getting both parents working and distract them with endless things, endless sitcoms, whatever. Okay? Just keep them distracted. So you don't see the 1-2 punch coming. Look at the number down there. Consent, the primary victory. The silent weapon system operates upon data obtained from a docile public by legal, but not always lawful force. Much information is made available to silent weapon systems programmers through the Internal Revenue Service. See studies in the structure of the American economy for the IRS source list. This was written in 1979. And what did this great, wonderful Inflation Act just do? Hire 87,000 IRS agents to go after people who want their country back. Prophetic, you tell me, or just a pre-played plan, huh? Whoops, I got the wrong page. Whoops. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, see this IRS. Okay, this information consists of the enforced delivery of well-organized data contained in federal state tax form collected, assembled, and submitted by a slave labor provided by taxpayers and employers. Furthermore, the number of such forms submitted to the IRS is a useful indicator of public consent, an important factor for strategic decision-making. Other data sources are given and source outputs. What does that mean? So basically what it's saying, let's control the people by using the IRS, control their money. If they are watching the wrong thing, thinking the wrong way, we can take it away from you and punish you. 87,000 brand new IRS agents just for you. Aren't you happy about it? Isn't that something? Let's look at this next page. So, wait a minute. Let me go back. Let me look here. Yeah. There it is. I had the right page. Okay. Assume a certain rank, position, level, or class in social structure. Okay. It goes on. Each class is guaranteed its own level of income. This is what they do. Control the class immediately below and hence preserve the class structure. This provides the stability and security, but also government from the top. As time goes on, communication and education improve. The lower class elements of society, of the social labor structure, become knowledgeable and envious of the good things that the upper class members have. So I'm going to explain in this page why they're doing this. So as time goes on, if people get wise of what's going on about them, the communication and their education improves, and the lower class elements of the social labor structure become knowledgeable and envious of the good things that the upper class members have. They also begin to attain knowledge of energy systems and the ability and force their rise through the class structure. This threatens the sovereignty of the elite. Folks, I keep hitting the wrong page. Folks, this shows you they think that lower class elements are the dregs of society, mere animals and playthings. They don't want you to rise in economic status or intelligence. It threatens the sovereignty of the elite. This is psychopathic thinking. It's their way or the highway. They want to control it all. They don't want any free market opposition. Do you think the World Economic Forum is pro that? No, they are for Marxism. It threatens the sovereignty of the elite when people rise in their economic structure and they can think for themselves. That threatens the sovereignty of the elite. Next paragraph. If this rise of the lower classes can be postponed long enough, the elite can achieve energy dominance, and labor by consent no longer will hold a position of essential energy source. Klaus Schwab is talking about, a new economy, robotics. What are people going to do? They ask Noah Harari about this. Well, we'll just keep them drugged up and playing video games plugged into the metaverse of all things, What else are you going to do with animals but keep them in cages and entertained in a fake surrounding where they can't get out of? So you postpone long enough, the elite can achieve energy dominance, and labor by consent no longer will hold a position of essential energy source. Until such energy dominance is absolutely established, the consent of the people to labor and let others handle their affairs must be taken into consideration, since failure to do so can cause people to interfere in the final transfer of energy sources to the control of the elite. It is essential to recognize at this time public consent is still essential key to the release of energy in the process of economic amplification. Therefore, consent energy release mechanisms will now be considered. What is this talking about? I'm going to leave this up here so you can read it. The energy release is the everything that I just talked about, and it is. I'm going to put it up here. Where did I have it? Okay, here it is. It's these stages. You have the idea of the rule of the elite is the golden stage where they want to control everyone and everything for the greater good. You'll see the silver stage by helping the outcasts use legitimate grievances that turn them into illegitimate accusations to solidify one's power and control. You shape the world into a one unified groupthink, but through a ruling oligarchy by the bronze stage. You Hellenize the world in one world groupthink. This is energy release. Iron stage, change laws to achieve world domination, used to demonize and assassinate opponents' character ways, the very life of to establish a dictatorship beholden to a leader, idea enforced by elite ruling oligarchy, folks. Why? Well, let's look at it again. They want to do all these things to achieve energy dominance. That means energy dominance means simply this. World domination, totalitarianism. Why? The sovereignty of the elite. They don't want the lower class people to have a chance. Free markets threaten their position. Their way or the highway, folks. Their release of energy dominance and all this ideology is not talking about physical energy and gas and oil. It's talking about their control of everything. Why do they want to do it? Again, they use this program of action, Cairo 1994, on public domain here. And they talk about all this good thing about climate change and helping everybody and setting at liberty and selling women's rights to everybody and how to go about celebrating DVNC in order to bring down the established structure, to dumb people down. It sounds really good to help the environment and control things, and it's all for one purpose. Stated on, again, I'm going to round this home. On page 20, consent with Agenda 21, the objectives are to ensure that population, environmental, and poverty eradication factors are integrated into sustainable development policies, plans, and programs. Read it again. To ensure population eradication, environmental eradication, and poverty eradication. What does that mean? How do you eradicate poverty? You eradicate the population. How do you eradicate environmental problems? You eradicate the population. They are integrated into sustainable development policies, plans, and programs. Why? To reduce both unsustainable consumption, production, and patterns, as well as negative impacts of demographic factors in the environment in order to meet the needs of current generations without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Whose? The sovereignty of the elite. Not you. They view you as animals, the scum of the earth, who be plugged into the metaverse of all things, doped up on drugs and playing video games and riding a little scooter to get your groceries in a snowstorm and a blizzard, or those little electric bikes. That's the iron stage. So you're going to see all these stages coming together at the end times really quick, not centuries like it has been, and beat back, then then it starts again, beat back, starts again. This is one world mindset groupthink all at once coming down the pipe. Look at this. Then we come to the clay iron phase. You have the feet of clay and iron down there. It says, the world domination actualized to crush and control the population for the ruler's greater good, security, and safety. That's the stage where the statue is beginning to walk. And this stage all involves all human rights of liberty, free thinking. The region is crushed to ruthlessly control a population for the ruler's state greater good, security, and safety to ensure the sovereignty of the elite. Folks, this is the prophetic roadmap to tyranny. This is what they want to do. This is what we are seeing today. Through the prophet Daniel, he laid the very template to look for. In the stage when descent and everything is, and the iron is crushing the clay, the masses, is when the statue is going to walk, is when Jesus is going to come back, and that rock from the other rock is going to smash that Hummer and destroy it during the tribulation period. So before the tribulation period, you will see a rise of a ruling oligarchy who wants to take over everything, set the stage, like it says in the book of Revelation, called the great men of the earth, who will use economic engines in order to accomplish this, set the stage for one world ruler to appear. The same dream that the ancient pagan gods had, same dream as Satanists have and occultists and Luciferians have to this day. The same dream. Justify perversity, legitimize it. The storylines of the old gods taught humanity that it's okay to rape, pillage, and get revenge, and molest, burn children alive, whatever. They justified all kinds of deviant behavior. Do you think that was by accident? It's a prophetic roadmap in the steps to tyranny. And that's what we're looking at today. So with that, folks, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of close this out here. What can I say? And we'll discuss this in a minute. But I'm just telling you, what do you think? Just whatever you think, put it in the comments below. Why am I doing this? I'm trying to warn people what's coming down the pike. We try to get an intercessors group together to pray against this stuff. You don't. Or if you do get one together, you got these bumbleheads that come in there with their well-meaning intent, but they're praying the wrong way. They don't even know how to pray intercessory warfare, prayer, or any type of spiritual warfare. They think they do, but they're distracted prayers. You try to get an intercessors group together, you might get 2 people, 3 people. Back when I was a young kid, growing up in the Lord here, in my early stage of my Christian, through the 1980s and 90s, you can say prayer meeting, get 300-400 people show up overnight, on and on and on. Now you can't get anybody to pray about this stuff. So that's where we're at. So just what you think down there, until I put it in the comments, whatever you think of this thing, just put it in the comments. And I'm just telling you, I shake my head what I'm seeing. And all I can do is try to warn you about it and try to get people together and take some time to do some spiritual warfare type of praying about this. Okay? There's a lot out there on spiritual warfare, good stuff about the armor of God, so forth, etc. Remember, the armor of God is God himself. Those are the attributes of God. And one of the attributes of God is God's faithfulness. The shield of faith is picking up God's faithfulness, which is able to quench all the fiery darts of the evil one. The word of God that's spoken in truth, not your ideas, not your declarations and decrees, but what God declares and decrees. Not you or what you think God decrees, but what does the Bible say? You're quoting scripture. Okay? I suggest read Psalms 5. Use that as a template for spiritual warfare. Okay? I challenge you to do that. That's what I'm trying to do, get people to pray. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. If you like to support what I do and stuff, you just look on the screen, and my contact information and everything that you need there to help keep me on and keep me going is right there. Also, don't be discouraged in this hour. Just know that the Lord is on the move. We are going someplace, and the Lord's going to get us out of this. We do not know the day, time, or hour, but there is a thing called the blessed hope. So when you see this prophetic template happening right before your eyes, let me put this back on the screen. When you see this take shape in one last punch, not centuries like each one of these historically, as the statue does represent historical things, epics in history, not epics of history, but all at once. Do you see that taking shape now? Is that why you feel discouraged? Take heart. The Lord is returning soon. With that, you be blessed in Jesus' name. So now I'm going to go to the live chat just for a few minutes. I don't have a whole lot of time. So, I wanted to put this together. I wasn't going to, but I was going to do my other video, but I got too distracted with life events that transpired, especially with some reason that allergy season is really pronounced. We have other things going on here. They're spraying for mosquitoes, and got a dose of the spray by accident. Nearly knocked me out. Pretty bad stuff. So, there's things going on, I just could not get that video out. I will get it as soon as I can, and hopefully I can even work on a bit tomorrow. So with that, folks, I'm going to be signing off in just a few minutes. So I'm just going to look here. Just a few comments. Okay. And so I'll just put a few comments. Jason writes, Biden's speech the other night, it seems he wants to be a Civil War president. What he wants is, what his handlers want is simply to provoke people into action. Don't go for it. Don't go get mad. Don't do anything stupid, because this is what this guy wants. He was trying to provoke a fight, to declare martial law and do away with the midterm elections. So just keep a cool head. That's all I got to say. I need to address this too. It says, good morning. Is it correct to affirm the rapture will be September 26 according to the Bible? I have no idea. It could be. No one knows the day or the hour. Some people, say that will be during those Jewish festival of that time frame. This is the Feast of Trumpets, and it could be the last trumpet of the Feast of Trumpets and all that. I don't get into all the details of the feast and stuff. It's possible, but I'm not, but Jesus did say we don't know the day or the hour, and I'll take it at that. If it doesn't happen September 26th, are you going to be disappointed? If it happens, you won't be, neither will I. But any true believer is not going to be disappointed if it does happen. So we'll have to wait to see. I do not know, and I'm not going to get into a big debate if it is or isn't. Okay, I don't like to set dates myself. Just any time. I'm going to leave it at that. Some people, so just leave it at that. That's all I can say. Let's not tear each other apart over things like this either. Is my point. And I will say, no man knows the day or the hour, only the Father in heaven does. Amen to that. Okay, anybody else here? Okay. Gladys says, Brian, I was watching a teaching on the house of David, the only king whom God made promise his house would rule forever. Yep, that was through Jesus from the line of David, who will come back in the millennial kingdom, who will set up the kingdom and give and fulfill every promise to the nation of Israel during the millennium. Okay? Pretty much sums it up right there. That's a good point. I'll show this, but I won't say it because you don't want to be taken off of the air. That's true. They will do that. Okay, let's look here. I'm just scrolling down here. Again, there's 2 comments by Gladys. Brian, it's all in our face, but I think that's most people still don't see it. Second part, do you think there's enough of us to beat it back again? Well, last week I alluded to Jeremiah chapter whatever it was, where Jeremiah was supposed to go, and God says, you're going to go to these people, but they're not going to listen to you. That means there's a point that's reached when people don't listen. That same principle is found in Revelation chapter 2 and 3. And that's the message of the end time revival, actually, is Revelations 2 and 3. Don't think otherwise. That is the message, is Revelations chapter 2 and 3. And so I do not think most people recognize it in the church. I don't think they will listen. And as the scripture says in Jeremiah there, and as Jesus says, hearing the word has made them grow dull of hearing and seeing. I'll explain that in my new video coming out, more details. But there comes a tipping point. In Jeremiah chapter 26, God gives a last call of repentance, and a remnant actually respond and do the work, but not very many. Okay? And the end came for Israel, and they were scattered off into the nations, and later Judah sent off to Babylon. Okay? So, just saying. My personal opinion, I do not know if we can or not. However, we are called to try. and to wake people up, because if by chance they hear a chance to repent, like it says in Revelation chapter 2 and 3, they will repent and God can hold it back. But if not, we reach the point of a no return and boom, that statue begins to walk and Jesus will take care of it. So take heart. It may not be pretty. It may not be pretty when we get there. Okay. Whoops, I just lost what I was looking for. Okay. Someone said, I'm here. Merced Solero. Sorry, I had a dream where a general was telling me that we are in a spiritual warfare. Well, I think the general was telling you right. We are in a spiritual warfare. That's where it's waged, on our knees, in our prayer closet, intercessory groups. That's what I'm trying to wake people up to. We need to start praying. Okay, and Jody says to Merced Solero, we are in a spiritual warfare, Ephesians 6, always have been. If you accepted Christ, you will be until the final battle. That would be my answer. Good answer. Yep. So that's just a few of the comments here in the live chat that I want to address. And I'm going to sign off now. I have to get busy and get some things and so forth. Just keep things in prayer. My book proposal has gone out, that everything's on the up and up. Everything will work out. Everything will shake out. And if the publisher accepts it, and I can do some edits and some major edits that need to be done with the manuscript, I'd like to get the book published as soon as possible, because it has some info in there that could help you all. And help you, actually. So you guys be blessed in Jesus' name. And I'm going to go back to this. Just remember, the Lord is coming back. And always look up, for your redemption draws nigh. Just look up there, because we are definitely on the prophetic roadmap to tyranny. With that, you guys be blessed in Jesus' name.